All right, let's get started. So while waiting for more participants, just a couple of quick reminders or house rules for everybody. If quick reminder for all of one, just to keep your um, microphone muted unless you're invited to speak or there's an opportunity for us to um, unmute ourselves to ask questions. Use the chat box for any questions, participations, or engagement. Let's be respectful and avoid interrupting our speakers while they're speaking. This session is recorded and will be shared after for our in demand, and it will be posted in our social media. And of course, we love to stay engaged until the end for key insights and Q&A. Right. Next slide, please. So here is our agenda flow. These are the things that you're going to be expecting. Highlight of our session would be our fireside chat with Caroline and Annie, followed by a Q&A. And please stand by for some announcements and ongoing projects and programs that we have. So see you there. Okay, next slide, please. Right. So once again, welcome everyone to our Pivot Project first community meetup. So today's conversation is something very, very close to what we do at Pivot Project. We love helping people make sense of change and, more importantly, take more actions. To officially kick us off, it's my pleasure to introduce someone who has been the heart and the building foundation of this community, Mathew. So she's a technology and innovation leader with more than 30 years of experience across Asia Pacific. Formerly a director at Microsoft, she led AI and platform strategy, founded Code Without Barriers, empowering more than 600,000 women in tech and cloud skills across 12 countries. Wow, Annie, I couldn't have been so proud doing this introduction for you. So over to you, and please share us more about what is Pivot Project.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you for the generous introduction. Is there an echo? Okay, I think we're good. And maybe you can leave out the years of experience next time. Gaurav, if you may help with the slides. Yeah, thank you. Meet Kira. She spent 20 years as a special needs teacher. So she's been doing stuff that she and everybody around her thought is just teaching. But actually, an AI development team would look at her skills and call it differently. They would call it pattern recognition, adaptive thinking, non-linear problem solving, and she uses it every single day, but never called it that. She just needed someone to help her see the translation. And this is what Pivot Project does. And she is not an edge case. She's one of 5 distinct audiences. Next slide, please. And so those audiences, as we look at it, are students. They are AI's next generation. And if we have students in the audience, please show a thumbs up. Teachers, these are AI's force multipliers. Do we have teachers in the house? Women, and I'm sure we have women in the house. Maybe a thumbs up. So teachers are actually the AI force multipliers, and 74.9, almost 75% teachers in Singapore are already using AI in their work. However, they still don't have AI pedagogy in their curriculum. So there's work to be done there. Women and AI bias removal. So the participation of women in the AI workforce is not just about gender equity, equality, or anything, but AI desperately requires these different perspectives, whether it's in the data, whether it's in the solutions, or whether even just as users and having access to some of the AI solutions that are being built. Seniors. Now, it is not senior citizens. So Singapore looks at seniors as anyone above 50, but nowadays are looking at even anyone above 40 who is going to look at a career transition. And these seniors are actually AI's wisdom layer, because they have the domain knowledge, they know how to manage stuff across teams, make the tools and agents work for us, etc. And last but not the least, people with differences. And we are focusing on neurodiverse talent here. They are AI's cognitive edge. So they are 140% more likely to notice patterns that others miss. So I don't know if you're aware that Microsoft and SAP and others actually have got separate recruitment channels for neurodiverse people. And there's a lot of focus on autism spectrum people as well. Moving to the next slide, that brings us to what Pivot Project is doing. So fundamentally, it's about helping you find your pivot in this new AI era. And the rest of the conversation is going to be exactly about that. Can't wait to talk with Caroline about it and Ella. So Pivot Project Framework has inclusion as the foundational pillar. So it's about bringing in those 5 audiences and making sure they are participating in the AI economy. The 3 pillars are skills and empowerment, innovation and creativity, and policy and resilience. So it's about helping people discover their career map and then skill up. Innovation through hackathons or cross-generational innovation, etc., and surface this data as evidence into policy roundtables. So the policymakers could actually make systemic changes that are going to make sure that all those audiences are regularly have a channel and are regularly sourced into the economic workforce. All of this is aimed at, the intended outcome is a national transformation, plus 19% innovation revenue. This is studies done. 87% better decisions when there is cognitive diversity in the teams, and of course, leading to 1 to 3% of GDP growth. That is our ambition. We're starting small. Lovely to see all of you, and we will go on this journey together. Thank you. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you, Annie. That's a very wonderful introduction. Who is Pivot Project? Now let's move on to the heart of today's session, our fireside chat. So our theme today is why upskilling could define your next decade. And to bring this conversation to life, we actually have 2 incredible perspectives with us today. First is Caroline McGrath. She is the Asia Regional Director Leader at Microsoft Philanthropy Skills for Social Impact, where she focuses on advancing AI skills, capacity building for educators, nonprofits, and civic leaders to drive more inclusive access to economic opportunities through technology. She holds a Master of Science from Northwestern University and is an International Coaching Federation certified coach, with additional degrees in commerce, arts, and IT from leading universities in Australia. And of course, earlier we have Mathew as founder of Pivot Project, who works closely with individuals and communities transitioning changes on the ground. So let's welcome Caroline and Annie on the Fireside Chat.
Thank you, Ella.
Thanks, Ella.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Annie. So let's kick it off. Caroline, first question. You have an amazing career trajectory based on the introduction. Why don't you tell us one time you find your pivot and what shaped that journey?
Gosh, well, I'm happy to be here, first of all. Thank you for including me. My pivot, I think the thing that I would say, my pivot is almost retrospective. When I look back at my career, I try and think about what the red thread was across all the different work that I've done, particularly work that I've enjoyed. And interestingly, it's been mostly about human capability, what people are capable of and how they deal with change. That's been a thread throughout most of my career. And it started with training folks in Australia when I was a consultant, an associate consultant at PwC, IBM at the time. And we were training a large telecommunications company in Australia called Telstra on how to use the internet. And I was put on that engagement and explaining to their team, there's this new technology. It's called the internet. We think it's going to change the world. How a business is going to use it, we don't really know. And that was kind of the genesis. And I really enjoyed that engagement. And then as I think throughout my career, I've found that like I've done different things and it's been great. It's given me a breadth of experience, but I've always somehow come back to this idea or this notion of developing people and helping people get prepared and ready for changes that are happening, usually technologically, but also socially and economically around the world. So I would say my pivot is in the rearview mirror more than an active act that happened at any particular point in my career.
Sure. Thanks, Caroline. Annie, how about you? I mean, would you like to share a bit? How did you find your pivot?
Yeah, I took a look at the rear view mirror as well. But then I figured that I've been very intentional about pivots, not knowing where to pivot, but when to pivot. So I've done 5 pivots in my life. Started with manufacturing, went to IT services, then went to mobile with BlackBerry, then went to software products with Microsoft, and here I am with a nonprofit. So the one common thread in all of those pivots, I was intentional that when I was taking a break, and most of these pivots happened in the beginning when I had my baby, so twice. And I wanted long, extended time with them. So I used the gaps that I had to go and upskill. So I called my first baby COBOL and my second baby Oracle. Never got to a coding job, but it set me down a path where I loved technology and I was always looking for chances to leverage technology to make the world around me better. So that upskilling, whenever I wanted to pivot, has been a constant thread for me.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Caroline and Annie, for sharing that. That's actually a powerful reminder that actually change is often very personal, and we just really have to take courage to move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
moving on, Caroline, there's a lot of noise around AI, hype on the other side, fear on the other. From where you sit at Microsoft now, what's the honest reality?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. So I think, I know everybody's reading different, Substack forums or, subscribing to different reads. I think the data that I have seen and that we're working with, um, definitely signals that, change is happening. I think the thing I would say is that it's perhaps not it's perhaps not as fast and it will take longer than what some of the worst case scenarios suggest. At least that's what I'm seeing. So there is certainly like a hockey stick, a really fast growth around using and trying, November 2022 and when ChatGPT first became available and folks flocked to it to interact with it, which is totally understandable. That the true integration of AI into our processes and workflows in business is taking longer. And so I think, a lot of that is being led in the enterprise space, where there are quite sort of codified and more set processes. And there's also a lot of money that's being applied in that part of the market to try to integrate AI and implement AI to make those workflows and processes more automated. But that's where a lot of the workforce is today. And so when we read a lot of articles, we see things like, my goodness, enormous professional class, white collar worker job loss. I think it's sort of reflecting on that dynamic. But as I said earlier, the data we're seeing is that it is happening. I'm not discounting that at all, but that it's taking longer than perhaps some of the worst case scenarios are suggesting. I think we're sort of going to enter more of a period of augmentation for a while, even though that's not as sensationalist and perhaps as like attention grabbing as mass layoffs, saying we might go through gradual augmentation. That doesn't really capture eyeballs or get attention. But I actually think that's kind of what we're seeing. We're going to go through a period where AI works alongside with people. And when you think about, I use AI quite a bit. When I think about my interactions with AI, that reality seems right to me. I'm using AI a lot. It's helping me do things a lot faster. It's helping me do things differently. It's changing the type of tasks that I do. No, I can't see the AI I'm using today replacing me wholesale. And so I think we'll go through this longer period of augmentation where we're working alongside AI. Skilling is going to be key. I know that's the topic for today, so I won't go into that for too deeply right now. But just building that competency and awareness of AI and how it slots in or not into your job, and being aware of that is probably a good thing to have top of mind as we start to interact with AI and figuring out how it helps us do our work better or more efficiently. That was a very long answer, Ella, but hopefully that's helpful. I don't know, Annie, I'm sure you have thoughts on this topic, but
Yes, but I was loving listening to you and the augmentation piece, right? And we'll dive deeper into skilling. But for me, I feel like there is nervous excitement right now, and it throws me back to the time when I was part of that mobile revolution. So we were creating those mobile applications and telling people you should use it. People were holding back, but the ones who really did well were the ones who actually started using it just to even learn the landscape. So I can see the similar thing with AI right now, that it's so important for us to, everybody need not be an AI engineer. Like Caroline said, it's going to augment AI for us. What does that augment mean? Is that you should know AI sufficiently to know when it's good for you to use it. Like if we had to make the presentation for today, we don't need to start from scratch. You go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whichever is your taste and say, hey, and this is what I do regularly. I have a meeting with so-and-so. You have the files. I need a presentation deck. And it'll come up with the first deck. And then I'll go change it. So it's just cutting down the time needed. So as they say in the media a lot, and I've heard it a lot of times as well, that the threat is not AI. It is just a competition with another person who is using AI. So I think a great leveling field is for all of us to know AI and start using it.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from Caroline and Annie is actually AI is not there to remove your job, but it's really to make you more efficient. And how are you able to integrate that? And actually, it pushes you to improve from what you are traditionally doing to make it more fancier or sexier using technology. Right. So,
totally.
Annie, bringing this closer to the ground, we would love to know like how people actually experiencing the AI shift today. Where are they most stuck based on experience?
Well, we have somebody in the audience who will vouch for this, Leila here. I was at a talk a few years back when she was in the audience and she was a speaker on another panel. And she said she hated tech. And I was saying with AI now, AI is just English. Because AI has removed the complexity of coding and everything, and it's just English. And that one concept actually brought Leila and me together. And then she was telling me the other day, Annie, I'm proud to say I'm using tech now. So for me, at a very personal level, that's it. There is a sort of fear around, but we do not need to fear it because it's not like other technology. This technology is different because it's very English driven. If you can write in English, you can chat with AI, and that's about it. What more do you do with this? It is just learn and play and experiment and go with it. but the fear exists that will my jobs go away, right? And so I would go back to the last point that let's start using it. And then you will know how to use AI in your job. So if you're a marketing assistant today, with AI, you could be AI champion in an SME doing marketing, or even an AI champion. So the basic AI fluency will open up a lot of doors. Data analyst is another one that is going to be basic visualization and things like that, which is a job you can easily, anyone could easily access to. But whatever job you're in, add AI, augment AI to it.
Right. Totally agree with you on that, Annie. So, Caroline, switching gears. So, we talk about a lot of upskilling. I have been hearing augmenting, upskilling. So, in an AI-driven world now, what is the definition of skills actually changing?
Gosh. So I think, I think that there's a couple of things going on with skilling at the moment. I think that, skilling is still like, acquiring knowledge, going to a course, understanding the tools that you have, and then it's using it. I mean, I think that this is like going to the gym and trying to get your arms toned. It's like you've got to do your reps. You've got to you've got to start using it and regularly every day to get better at it. And then I think there is a piece which is around certifications, which I don't normally say because it feels, you get the skills, you use them and apply them, and that's, you can get certification, but that's often optional. I don't know that that's optional anymore, and what I mean by that is that I think that employers, in the data sets that we've been looking at, we looked a lot at LinkedIn data, we look at recruiter data. And we can see that they're looking actively, they're scanning, they're using AI as well extensively. They're scanning for those certifications for AI, which is a certification is proof of knowledge, proof of skill. You've demonstrated that you can do this. And so that's becoming a point of differentiation in the labor market. And so I think at this point in history, at this juncture of this technology, having some type of badge that you can say, I know this, or I understand how to do this, is actually part of the skilling cycle. It's not just going to a course. It's not just using the skills. Right now, I think it's also important to prove that you have proof that you have those skills and you know how to use AI. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Yeah, I mean, nowadays, Gen Zs can vouch on me that having that electronic badge can be posted in their social media just to see the authenticity that they really have gone through the certification. And there's a lot of learning pathway, actually, especially in Microsoft Learn, that, the audience can start exploring. So thanks for that perspective. How about Annie? Would you like to add on any perspective from your end?
Yes, a quick add, and I always have something to add.
Perfect.
Something to add is before skills. So I think for all of us personally, before you jump in and skill, the first step is actually have a direction. What are the jobs that are requiring AI skills, and what are the jobs that I can, in adjacent to the skills that I already have, what can I apply for? Keeping your strengths in mind. So mapping your strengths with market realities and having a map, a career map, or what we call my pivot map, is the first step. And so that is in PIVOT. P and I is about this. P and I at the pause, illuminate, and at illuminate, you're actually having your map. And the next one is validate, which is to Caroline's point, all of the skilling that you do, but not in enough that you skill, right? So O is own. So own the skills that you have learned. which means you need to develop a portfolio of projects, whether it's through hackathons or building your own projects, but have a portfolio to show that you own those skills. That is proof, that is evidence that employers need to see. And then comes T, that is transition. And that is transition into your, wherever your pivot map was aimed at. You might get something adjacent or just what you aimed at, but that transition is enabled through mentoring, through communities like this. Join Pivot Commons right after this. But this community is going to be your soul in this journey, because you can go up and down in terms of I feel high that I learned something, then I feel low that I didn't get the job, then I feel like do it. So the community becomes super important. So that is the pivot framework that we have. And we will share more about it. Come join the commons, and then we will talk about it.
Thanks, Annie. I mean, thanks for sharing that clarity, the journey of every individual. I think it always starts with what's your purpose? What's my pivot? I think majority of us can vouch on me that not everybody knows what I really wanted to do, but I need somebody to give direction. Then from there, I can start to upgrade. On my next question, Annie, there's a common belief that because when they hear about tech, they hear about Microsoft, the first thing in my mind is, do I need to learn how to code to stay relevant in AI? Do you agree, or this is the wrong focus?
I vehemently disagree. It sums up all that I've been saying so far, that you need to know English, and you need to have some critical thinking, and you need to have reasoning, and those are human skills. That's what you need, English plus human skills, to then work with the AI tools. And some people need coding, which is the AI engineers and prompt engineers, a little bit of coding for prompt engineers, and so on. But the bulk of us do not need coding, and that is why AI is so magnificent, and scaling so fast, is because anybody can use it. It's a technology that's democratizing. It's a level playing field for everyone.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Annie.
100% agree, Annie. You know, I think
Yeah.
one thing that we talked about, with when you talk about telecommunications infrastructure and the development of countries, there was a massive divide for a long time of countries that had laid the phone lines and connected, and telephone poles and connected landlines. And then there was a large part of the world that didn't have that infrastructure, whose governments or societies hadn't put that infrastructure in there. And I think there was a point in time when folks were going, "Gosh, this isn't going to happen. We're just becoming more and more divided economically, socially, globally." And then the mobile phone came along and completely changed the paradigm, because all of a sudden you didn't need to have all of that infrastructure that a lot of sort of developed economies had put in place. And we saw economies leapfrog because they had access to mobile all of a sudden. And I mention all of that because I think AI is a little bit like that. We've been very focused globally around STEM skills and STEM, and don't hear me wrong here. I think STEM skills are still very important and they're great to have. But, I think a conversation that we're having, as a company with governments and countries around the world, is one whereby perhaps if you don't have that labor force, that workforce of folks with deep STEM skills, this is a really interesting moment in time, because all of a sudden we have this technology that's very powerful that doesn't require those deep STEM skills for folks to use it. And I think what we know from history is that oftentimes with technologies like this, it's not the countries or the nations that necessarily build that technology that experience the most growth. It's actually the countries who understand how to utilize that technology best that actually benefit most socially and economically from it. And so I do think AI is that equivalent to that mobile moment for a lot of people and a lot of countries.
Thanks for
is,
sharing that,
yeah,
Caroline.
that was very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting and a real use case that you've shared. So finally, somebody in the panel already cleared this myth that being in the technology, being in AI, you need to know how to learn to code. I think that's the number one questions that I have been receiving this past couple of months. Talking about Microsoft, they thought all Microsoft folks are doing the coding. All dev people are just using Python or whatever language. So that's very clear and validated. Now let's move on to the next question. So Caroline, through Microsoft Elevate, you've seen diverse communities across Asia who's engaging with AI. What do people who successfully make the leap have in common? What's the common denominator?
Oh gosh. So I think, curiosity, that sounds like a no-brainer, but curiosity cannot be overstated. Like, just really that desire to get to the bottom of something. How does this work? What is this? Just I think, meeting folks who have that or who can nurture it forward are folks that I think get the most out of AI and can overcome the barrier, I think, of like, what is this? I don't know if I want to use it. It's curiosity that will take you over that threshold and get you like interacting with it and playing with it. So just, an interest in the novel, in the new, in things that are different. I think that's one mindset. I think that's present. The other is just an experimentation mindset. I'm just looking at my notes from all the various meetings and engagements that I've been part of. There's just been a willingness to experiment amongst the folks that I've met. They're sort of like not afraid of asking the seemingly obviously silly question. They don't, putting aside the need to be a know-it-all and being vulnerable and being willing to be the know-nothing person who puts their hand up and asks that question. So, folks who can do that also are more willing to experiment. Typically, they're willing to fail. And so I think if you can get out of your comfort zone, allow yourself to be vulnerable, and kind of ask those questions, experiment, and come from a place of curiosity, that I think that mindset will take you a long way, not just with AI, but with any form of technology, and actually with humans as well, I would argue, as well. And then I think the other thing that's interesting in the different meetings I've been a part of, there's this moment, and perhaps this is not a skill, but I think it's worth mentioning now. There's this moment, this light bulb moment, when people start interacting with AI and they realize that it's much more than search. Because I often hear that, well, this is just next gen search. And that's what I use it for. And you can use it for that. And it does just fine performing search. But I think when you start getting into it and you start thinking about or taking a minute to contemplate what more could I do with this? How else could I get this technology working for me? It's when and you start getting back some of the responses from the tools that surprise, shock, and leave you in awe, like, wow, this is cool. That's when you understand that this isn't just next gen search. This is actually a whole other thing. And that's pretty cool when you see people having that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very clear and very honest response, Caroline. I think we should really stay inquisitive and curious about, and don't be scared on experimenting on this technology. It will not bite you. It will not kill you. Just experiment and see and get the best out of this technology, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I chime in with one other skill that I think a lot about these days, whether I'm losing it with too much AI, is critical thinking. And whether you're using Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever it is, it's very easy to get lulled into a feeling of oh, I can create anything I want. Just ask ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, and voila, I'll have an answer. But if you, uh, what I've started doing now is to say, next question is like, tell me critically what is lacking in this. When could it go wrong? All the negative questions, and then you would see that the same Claude or Copilot will suddenly give you 10 points where it could go wrong. And then if I hadn't asked that question, or if I didn't know enough, and if I'm not thinking critically enough, I could very well go with that first draft and then build on it, and I'm down a totally wrong path. So with AI, I think that critical thinking piece is becoming super, super critical. Otherwise, we would have a new generation, which is skimming the surface of topics, never going deep and understanding the depth of topics. And it's so easy to do that with AI. So, and even when you come to managing agents and stuff, what employers will look for is some of those skills, right? Like curiosity, but also critical thinking, but also managing agents, and also getting teams of agents and people to work together, skills like that. So for me, I worry about critical thinking for my kids, for my grandkids, for the world. Are we losing that skill with too much of AI?
And just to add to that, Annie, I think I do a lot of work with ministries of education around the region. And as a company, we do a lot of work globally. And a conversation topic that's happening at the moment around critical thinking is redesigning curriculum and education systems. And governments are looking at things, or ministries of education rather, are looking at things like the International Baccalaureate program for, it's one type of curriculum that, if you're not familiar with it, that's a K-12 curriculum, and it has a very heavy emphasis on critical thinking. And it used to be a program that was very narrowly applied, and now we're having conversations with large public education systems who are saying perhaps because of AI we actually need to integrate more IB type teaching into our public school systems, because we're seeing the need for this critical thinking muscle to be developed. And you start developing that from young typically, but perhaps we need to start teaching kids from in the K-12 space how to exercise critical thinking, improve their judgment, ask questions like you just cited, Annie, where you got a response, be like, I'm not sure if this is right. Let me ask the right questions to get a level deeper to understand the veracity of what the tool is returning to me. So yeah.
I'll sleep better tonight.
Don't worry. Hope is coming. No.
Yeah, beautiful insights. Caroline, my last question to you. I mean, we've talked a lot of good stuff today, and one last question for you is, if you could leave every professional in Asia with one message about AI on their career, in their life, what would it be?
I would say be prepared. I mean, that's, I'm a big, I was never a Girl Scout, but their motto is be prepared. And I think, and Boy Scouts too. And I think that that's true here. Like, get trained, start using the tools, and get familiar with it. Also so that you know it, but also that you have an opinion on it. It's very easy to just slip into the general narrative around something, but there's no better way to actually have an opinion, have thoughts on something, than to interact with it and actually use it and understand it. So start using the tools. Get certified would be the other thing. All of the recruiting data that I'm looking at really says that that's a filter that people are using to hire. So I would say get certified, and then also just start perhaps raising your awareness. I know this is something I'm doing around the tasks that I do in my job. Like, what am I doing here? Could this be done by AI? Because you get so used to, or at least I do, by doing things a certain way. And so I've been trying to be much more aware and intentional about what I'm doing, and whether there's an opportunity to use AI to do something, not because I want to use AI on everything, but because that's probably directionally where that task is going to go. And so I would like to get, conversant on how to use AI in a particular application. I'd say just raise your awareness around what you do and how you can use AI, because chances are your job will transform for those tasks to be, AI-ified. I just made up a word. But yeah, that would be my feedback.
Thank you, Caroline, for that advice and tip. So we move on to Annie. My last question for you: if someone today had decided to take their first step toward AI readiness, what should they be doing tomorrow? Quickly.
So before I go, there's a question for Caroline. Could you list some of the most widely accepted certification?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, any of the certifications from, I know I work for Microsoft, so I'll start with Microsoft, but I'm not going to be exclusively Microsoft. So, any of the Microsoft Copilot certifications, or Microsoft also non-product specific offers a range of AI, responsible AI, ethical AI, thinking about AI frameworks. So anything that's offered from Microsoft. I know also, Google and Anthropic and OpenAI also offer a wide range of AI courses as well. I think the academic sector has been slower to the party, but many of them do offer AI courses, micro credentials that are offered through some large academic institutions globally. And then the other group that I have seen, and we've done some work with as well, is the UN. So UN University, UNESCO, they have actually done a lot of work around creating credentials, AI credentials, and they're doing it in the spirit of, we want to make sure the digital divide doesn't get wider. So how can we, through our platforms, distribute AI training? And they've got some really great training that's offered through the UN as well. And I'm sure there's many others, but the few that come to mind immediately. Sorry, Annie.
Yeah, no, totally. Thanks for sharing that, Caroline. And Ella, back to your question, what should I do tomorrow morning?
Yes. $1 million question.
The $1 million question. So if I have never used AI before and I don't know where to start, I would go sign up for an AI fluency course. And there is AI fluency skilling that Pivot is running with Microsoft that gives you the Microsoft credentials on AI fluency. There is also AI fluency with all the sources that Caroline just mentioned across the board. So if I don't know anything about AI and I do want to make a start, I would go sign up for one of those, and it's just 4 hours. The AI fluency course is just 4 hours, and it tells you how to use AI, what are the tools, what is responsible AI, how to use it in your own world. So that's a great start for somebody who has not had any work with AI. Even if you have some knowledge, but you've not been using it and you do want some credentials to show, go do that. The second thing would be to actually, that is one thing, but for people who already know a little bit, but haven't used the tool, just download whatever flavor of that tool you want and just open it, sign in and say, hello, tell me what can I do with you? And it will guide you through what else. And then tell the tool what you want to do for the day, like hey, find me a restaurant nearby, or maybe tell me how to run an event. I've never done this panel moderation before. Whatever you want, but start playing with it. And for people who are already using it and at work, I think this is a good moment to pause and illuminate. Think about, where is this AI technology going to play in the whole landscape of my world, jobs, etc. And then start upskilling, start creating something with AI that you can showcase as stuff you've done. If you are a little more advanced, go start using agents and ask agents to build you tools, which becomes proof to talk about when you're going for an interview or something. So there's a wide spectrum of things for you to do tomorrow morning, and you can start anywhere from depending on where you are today.
Thank you so much, Annie. So to sum up our whole discussion, my personal key takeaway is we have to start being hungry and curious, start finding your pivot, stay up to date on what's technology. Do not be scared on experimenting with these AI tools, and you will never know where this technology will bring you. And technology and what you are now, if you integrate it together, it will be a stronger version of yourself. Thank you very much, Caroline and Annie. This is a wonderful session. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Now,
you.
Thanks, Ella. Thank you.
Enjoyed the conversation.
thank you.
Likewise.
And,
Thank you.
yeah, now we are opening the floor for some questions from the audience. Gaurav, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ella. First of all, thank you so much, Caroline and Annie. That was amazing. The kids started studying in the New South Wales board in Australia, and obviously, Caroline, you would know that Australia is a lot more closer to IB way of learning and teaching. So very research based and thought based. So last 1 year I have been in India, and thank God I put them in an IB school. So I'm very happy to hear that part. Because it was a continuation of how New South Wales Board really manages education. So that's good to know. And I think it is also a very good thing to think about your own way of using AI, and how you can put critical thinking at the top of your mind, in terms of not be overly dependent on it, but at the same time really not losing your core skills which are required nowadays. So a lot of organizations are looking for your core soft skills that you should have, not just the hard skills. So I think that was a good reminder. So thank you so much, both of you. Wonderful session, and thanks a lot, Ella. So now the floor is open. We are going to have a lot of questions. I think Jonathan already asked one. Good, Johnny, you have asked another one. So we will have time for a couple of questions. So if you have anything, please put in the chat while we go through this. So Johnny is asking, how can users be trained to work alongside AI rather than depend on it? Oh, wow. A good question, Johnny. So I don't know who want to take it. Caroline, Annie.
I can start, Annie.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll pitch in.
Well, I was going to actually point back to something you said earlier, Annie, which was, when you put, your concern around critical thinking. So you would ask, AI to come back, you'd put it in a prompt and get back results. And then, you would start poking holes in it and going, hold up. So I think that's really good. It's very illustrative of how to work alongside AI rather than depend on it. The worst case scenario I can think of not working well, or learning the hard way for how to work alongside AI rather than depend on it, is the court cases. I think everyone's heard these stories of like a court legal team who have actually gone and used AI to pull all the casework and put together a brief, have gone to court, presented it, and then found that some of the cases that they're citing actually don't even exist. And so that's the worst case scenario, and that's learning the hard way. And I hope that happens to absolutely nobody on this call, but it does show that you've got to, I think we're at a point where you've got to do first rev, use AI in some ways to do that first research, that searching, that trawling, that compiling, that synthesis, And then you've got to, actually like go through it and actually make sure that it makes sense, that it's coherent, that it comes together, that it, if you hold it up to the light, does it stand up? Does the logic and arguments stand up? And does the double click the next layer down of detail underneath it, does it hold as well? Because I think sometimes, even with the logic piece, I've read pieces, things that have come back from AI and they're beautifully written. It's almost like, I describe it as listening to the safety briefing when you get on an aeroplane. It's so elegant and well put together, but then you're like, they've forgotten this, and what about this? And you really do have to, and I do this with my team as well, just build in the habit of, Rev 1, we can use AI, and then really we've got to, keep working with it. It's not one and done. You've got to keep poking at it, prodding it, reviewing it before it's prime time. That was a very long answer. Annie, do you have anything that you want to add, or do you want to go to the next question?
Just adding that AI is supposed to improve your productivity. So look for that. Is it making you more productive? And then look to build agents or whatever to do the repetitive tasks that you're doing today. Make AI replace those repetitive tasks. And then you can say you're working alongside AI to begin with.
Yeah, totally agree.
Awesome. I don't think I've got one more question in the chat. Guys, if you have any question, please put in the chat. We'll be more than happy to answer them or get them answered. Meanwhile, I do have a question. I mean, because I talk with a lot of professionals and they have been talking about AI and usage of AI, etc. I mean, at a broad level, because you have access to industry data, what kind of roles are you seeing will probably be affected in the near future? Because you spoke about augmentation time, and it is probably going to take a bit longer than what we were thinking, and it is not going to be mass layoffs, etc. But there are certain roles which probably can be seen as immediately impacted. I mean, a lot of companies are, even Atlassian, for example, let go 1,600 people, and citing AI as the reason. So do we have any view that maybe certain roles are more on the line and they should really be careful and they should really start thinking about the pivot right now?
I mean, I think there's like a 3 criteria rule for this to think about it. It's, things that, and you have to meet all 3, I think. This is not official Microsoft, but this is my observation. But things that are rule-based, anything that's rule-based, anything that's like task heavy, and then anything that's like on a screen, involves a screen and keyboard. So so it has to meet all 3 though. So when I think about what meets all 3, the most immediate thing is software engineering, and we're seeing that already. I think there's some, and what we're seeing is that software engineers, the ones, they're moving up the value chain of work without sounding too cliched here. They're doing more full stack engineering rather than engineering for certain workloads. And so that's the shift that's happening. AI is being used to do the software development at a workload level, and then they're managing the whole stack. And of course, they're also reskilling to get AI skills. An AI software engineer is, I believe, one of the highest paid, most sought after professionals at the moment. And so people are getting reskilled in AI. Other jobs that meet that sort of criteria, that 3 criteria, are like, and Annie mentioned some of them earlier, like data entry, I think, call center as well. Those are the types of roles that I think, we're trying to rethink and reconfigure, because they're, sort of more AI exposed than other roles.
Awesome. Cool. No, thank you so much. I know we are almost at time. So this has been lovely. And I'm sure some of the people got some really good value out of it. I definitely got a lot of value, a lot of notes. So yeah, Ella, I'm going to share your last screen so that we can just talk to everyone about what is happening at Pivot. So just
Thanks, Gaurav.
1 second.
Okay. Thanks, Gaurav, and thank you for answering those burning questions, Caroline and Annie. Just a quick announcement, what's happening for Pivot Project. So our ongoing programs and activities for skilling, we are doing AI fundamentals for teachers, educators, students from K-8 to K-12, all the students from TVET, IT, or vocational organizations. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We have an ongoing free AI fluency training, and we have AI 900 exclusively for women on early or mid-career walks of life. Then we also have mentorship program for those who are in Singapore now, New Zealand. This is for women who from early to mid stage of their career, or who would love to return to work. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We will be having our monthly community meetups like this. We're going to be inviting interesting and intelligent guest speakers like Caroline we have now. So we have the QR codes as well. Please feel free to like, follow, connect with us in LinkedIn. And for those who get inspired of what Pivot Project is doing, we are opening up volunteering opportunities, so you can bring back to the community and be connected with different people across Asia Pacific. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope to see you next time. Thanks again, Caroline and Annie, Gaurav, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ella.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you. Thank you,
Have a good
everyone.
evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.